Hey guys, I thought I would try recording outside today because it's a pretty nice afternoon here in San Francisco, and I have been stuck inside all day. I didn't really leave the house yesterday, and I am fortunate enough to have like my own little private outdoor patio space. There's not much here, but here, look. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's pretty barren, but at least it's outside, so I'm not complaining. About being stuck at home is that I have a lot of time for my art projects, but the problem is I start getting overambitious, and then I suddenly have not enough time for all of these projects that I supposedly have all the time in the world for. So I thought one fun thing might be to finally do that critique, the second critique video that you guys asked for last time. So here we go. So the first piece I'm going to look at is from Becca's an artist, and this person asked for some critique on their coloring style. And what I noticed right off the bat is they have a really cool kind of concept and composition behind this piece. So the first thing I'm actually going to do, though, since you asked for tips on coloring, is to check the values. So to do that, I'm going to create a layer that's entirely black and set the layer mode to saturation. That just puts everything in black and white. And once I put everything in black and white, you can kind of see that the mountains that are in the middle actually seem the more forward to us because they're darker than the mountains that are like supposed to be in the front, if that makes sense. And to create more depth in this landscape painting, we actually want the things that are farther away to kind of like be a little bit lighter in value. So I'm going to try to use the colors that already exist and do that. Another tip I would suggest, since this seems like a sunset sunrise situation, is to make the highlights not all white, evenly spread across. That actually kind of like flattens the image. Instead, because the sun's light is a bit yellow and kind of warm, I'm going to use a yellow or like just a warmer color for the highlights, and I'm going to really emphasize that in the spots that are closer to the sun. And I'm also going to emphasize this like silhouetted picture in the front by adding some highlights around it as well, and that's just going to help it pop a little bit more. And so hopefully here you can kind of see the difference that makes. So our second artist is Kira Latte, and they asked about color choice. And I'm going to actually, again, desaturate this to look at the values and not just the color, because both of these are really integral to the piece. I think their color choices are great. I like the red popping against the complementary green. But when we desaturate this, we can kind of see that the foreground and the background don't really appear to be on two separate layers. Like the foreground isn't really popping forward. So I think to take this to the next level, I would suggest either darkening the background or darkening the foreground. And I kind of did both just so you can see what it might look like. I didn't know if you wanted to keep this person looking very pale or and you really want to emphasize kind of like the ghostly color of her skin, or if that was not really intended. So you can kind of make that choice depending on what you want to emphasize. If you really want to emphasize the redness of her lips, for example, I might suggest actually putting in more greenery and getting rid of the rectangular piece of the background, and just so that there can just be like more green in the background, and that will help those colors pop as well. So my last artist is Drawing with Tori, and they asked for advice on composition and lighting. For composition, my advice is pretty simple. Since this seems like a portrait drawing, I would just make the canvas portrait sized rather than square. As for the lighting,
the light appears to be coming from the upper left-hand corner of the paper. It's not real paper, but from the upper left-hand corner. And if the light is coming from the upper left-hand corner, then the lines that are surrounded by those highlights should be a different color than the lines that are further away. So here's a quick tip. You can create a layer on the add setting, get a soft brush in a like super saturated red or orange color, and just like very lightly go over on top of the parts where the figure is being hit by light, and add in some light that way. And you'll see that the lines get a little bit lighter, and that makes it look a little bit more like the light is actually hitting the person. Lines don't actually really exist in quote unquote real life, and so if you make those lines lighter, it's going to look a little bit more realistic that way, if that is what you are shooting for.
Thanks for watching and joining me today. If you could leave me a comment and let me know that you watched the video or what you would like to see me do next time so that I don't feel like I'm talking to myself, that would be awesome. Stay safe, wash your hands, and I will see you next time.